Welcome to Macrocode, and if you're new to this channel, consider subscribing. So today I want us to learn how dependency injection works in ASP.NET Core. So dependency injection means instead of a class creating its own dependency, then they are provided or injected from outside. So this is our Dapper, this is our sample API that we've been creating in some of the episodes that we've been doing. So in case you want to see how this looks like, you can consider watching some of the videos that we did. So I want us to check something. So assuming we have our products, so this is our products controller. And mostly you'll find that we can have a service. For example, you can have an order service. So I'll just create here a folder. Then we call it, so let me stop this. We can call the folder here service. Then on this service, for example, we can have an order. So let's create a class called order service. So most people, you'll find that in case you want to be sending email to your customers who have made orders, so most people, you will find them doing this. So private read only, then I email sender. So we'll say we can say email service. So assuming you have an email service that sends email, so you can also have here another class. Let's say here email service. So on this email service, so we can have two things here. So we can have our I email service, and this should be an interface. Then this one we can say we can have here some tasks. So we can say public void send email. Then we can implement that here. So we can have that. So this service of ours will be sending emails. So then we can do the implementation of sending emails here. But now, assuming you want to be sending emails on our orders, so here we can say public email service, then underscore email. We can say here email. So you'll find a lot of people doing this. So you can do new email service. So this is wrong, and without dependency injection, we're actually doing something called tightly coupling. So this order service of ours is not well implemented. So the problem here is it is hard to test, and it is also hard to replace our email service, assuming we want to do SMSs. So that is also the challenge. And in case also this particular approach violate solid principle. And here we have something called D in our, so here we have D here, which represent dependency inversion principle. So this is what it violates. So instead of this, with dependency injection, so that is now where we have loosely coupled order service. So here we can do something like this. So we'll create here a constructor. We'll say here CTO. Okay. So I can just do that. Then I'll do something like this. So I'll remove this. Then here I'll do here I email service. Then I'll also do here I email service. Then I can do email service. So here we've done now dependency injection. Now here it is easy to test, easy to swap implementation, and also we have a clean now architecture. So for dependency injection, so ASP.NET Core has actually a built-in DI container, which actually registers services, create objects, resolve dependencies, manages lifetime, and also disposes the services. So within our program.cs, so if we go back here, this is where the dependency injection starts. So we can actually come here and do builder, say builder.services.add scope, and you can see we have now our email service here. So this email service that you see here, there's something we've done here and we'll need to explain to you guys. So here I'll import this. So here you can see I have my email service implementation, and also we have something, we have add scoped, then we also have add transient, and you also have add singleton. So we've done, so we can have add scoped, add transient, and also add singleton. So all those are now what we call it service lifetimes, and it's actually critical for dependency injection. So as you can see here, add scoped create a new instance is created per scope. That is, in web application, a scope is typically per request. So you can see that. So add transient, a new instance is created each time it is requested. So there is a difference in these lifetime service lifetime that you use depending on what you are doing. So these are some of the important service lifetimes that you can actually implement. So as we've seen, add transient create new instance every time, and it is actually lightweight and for mainly stateless services. So for scoped, which is actually mostly used, so these create a new instance that so a new instance is always created per scope, and mostly in web application, a scope is typically per request. So for scoped, it's perfect for EF-core DbContext, and it's actually the default choice for business logics. For singleton, you can see here a single instance is created and shared throughout the application lifetime. So this is that is one instance for entire app lifecycle and must be thread safe. It's actually mainly for caching or configuration. So one thing that you should know about the lifetime rule, you should never inject scope services into a singleton. So as you can see now here on our service orders here, you can see we have these services. You can say here we can have these as our service. So you can say this is a class, and you can also have our interface here, for example, for orders. So you can say this is interface, and you can have this as order service. Then you can have some order processing methods here. So let's see what these will suggest for us. So you can say here public. We can say process order. That's fine. Then here we can implement our interface, and here we can now implement you can see here we have our process order. So this one now, in case we want to use this service for order services, we'll now come to we'll go to our controller, that is products, and we can define it here. So assuming we are using it, so we can say here private, then we can say read only, then so this one will be order service, and then let's just import, then we can do order service. So this is it. Then here on our constructor, we'll also add our order service, and then we can say order service. Then here we can assign it. So you can see now, we can always now use this order. For example, whenever you are processing the order, you can access the process order method. So you'll just say here. So here we'll be having order service. Then we say dot place process order. Then we pass maybe the order number. So that is it. So this is how you can use the implementation. So this is a simple way. So for example, you are using the email, and you can also, maybe in case you want to be sending email, you can also use the email service. Then you can call this email service. So I'll just do that. Then here we'll just have our email service, and then you can be using email. So here you can say email, then you can send the email. So if you do that and send email, so you'll be having the method to send the email. So that's a simple way on how you can have that. So there are different ways of doing dependency injection. So in case you want to learn more, you can always find more. It is actually an easy topic, and you can always experiment and see how this works. So I think that is it for today. I just wanted to show you guys how you can do I think you've seen some of the code people doing this, and you wonder what is happening. So that is the general idea of what is being done, and mostly ensure that all those services are actually registered here. And you can see what we've done. As we say, dependency injection starts at this particular point. So I think that is it for today, and see you in our next episode. Bye.